Hello, my name is Joyce Harper and I'm Professor of Reproductive Science at the Institute for Women's Health at University College London. And in this short video, I want to talk to you about chapter 3 of my book, which is called Your Fertile Years and is published by Sheldon Press and is available to pre-order on Amazon. I've already made other videos explaining what the book's about and why I wrote it, and about chapters 1 and 2. And this video is about chapter 3. Optimizing your reproductive health. I think it's really important for us to think about our 4 pillars of well-being. They are nutrition, exercise, sleep, and our mental health. And balancing these pillars of our well-being are really important because they can have effects on our menstrual cycle, such as premenstrual syndrome and headaches, etc., on our fertility. So even trying to get pregnant can be affected by these. Having a healthy pregnancy is really important, and balancing these 4 pillars is essential. And also when women are approaching the menopause and the perimenopause period, their symptoms can be reduced if they are balancing their 4 pillars of well-being. And I just want to point anyone who is trying to get pregnant to look at the Lancet. There's a series of 3 papers by these groups, and they have looked at what we call preconception health, and this is the health of the man and the woman. And we have a huge amount of evidence around how preconception health is so important, not just when you're trying to get pregnant, but also to the future health of our children. So for example, if the man is obese, that can lead to ongoing health issues in children. So it's really important to really try and take stock throughout our whole life of our 4 pillars of well-being. So let's look at each one in a little bit more detail. I must say in the chapter, this is a very large chapter and I go into this in a lot of detail. In this video, I'm just going to really touch on just a few of the main points that I cover in the book. So nutrition. I'm going to start by asking you a question. Do you feel that you are in control of your nutrition? I've struggled with nutrition my whole life. I have put on weight over certain aspects of my life, but I am really aware how this is just so important to try and have under control as soon as we can, and it's never too late. So try to really have a healthy diet. I think we all know that we're supposed to eat a balanced diet with our 5 a day of fruit and vegetables, and we really need to try and avoid processed foods. I once had a discussion with someone who said, but all food is good food. So even if you're eating processed food, it's still giving you some energy. But no, processed foods can actually leach essential minerals from your body and can really have a negative effect on your blood sugar. So we should be avoiding processed foods, takeaway foods, ready-made meals, and sugar for sure. Again, I've always had a very sweet tooth and something that I've struggled with, but it's really important to try and keep these sort of negative foods down to a minimum. A lot of discussions around tea and coffee, some studies showing that they may have health benefits, but we have to remember that caffeine is a stimulant, and along with that activity, there are side effects, and you absolutely can be addicted to your daily tea and coffee. And if you are having trouble with any of your reproductive system, then you should try and cut down on your caffeine intake. And there are various regulations and guidance about what women should do when they're trying to get pregnant and when they're pregnant with regards to caffeine. Now, drinking alcohol, I certainly do like a glass of wine or a glass of champagne, but we have to keep this to a moderation. We shouldn't have alcohol every day, and we should only have a maximum of 14 units of alcohol a week. And 1 bottle of wine, I'm afraid, is 10 units. So again, I've written a lot about this. That's in my book and both on my blogs on Global Women Connected. And this is especially important around our menstrual cycle, when trying to get pregnant and being pregnant, and at the menopause. A lot of women think that having that glass of wine will be relaxing, but it does have a knock-on effect from affecting our sleep, etc., etc. So those are what we should be avoiding. And the bottom row is what we should be eating. We should be having lots of fruit and vegetable. Our 5 a day is really important to give us those minerals and nutrients that we need in our diet. Fiber is really important. I know lots of people loving juicing, but when we juice, we get rid of the fiber. It's much better to eat fruit and vegetables rather than juice them. It seems that almost all of us are vitamin D deficient, especially with COVID. Lots of people are not going out so much. So you might want to get tested. And if you are vitamin D deficient, then please take a supplement and try and get some fresh air as much as you can. Iron is very important around our menstrual cycle and our periods. When we have our period, especially with a heavy period, we could become iron deficient. And this can be especially important in the perimenopausal period of our lives. And other vitamins and minerals that are essential, things like magnesium, but I won't cover that here. It's important to think about those. And if you feel you're deficient, then I would advise getting checked, because some of these, if you take too much, they can actually become toxic. So it's best to check where you're deficient first. Let's go on to exercise. Another question for you. Do you feel that you exercise enough? And with all the talks I've ever given to women, this is one of the main issues where women tell me, I don't have enough time. You do have enough time. You have to make the time. And I absolutely appreciate that that's really difficult. And sometimes it's the last thing we want to do is get up and do some exercise. But even if you do 30 minutes a day, a few times a week, you're doing yourself a lot of good. And ideally exercise that increases your heart rate. If you go for a very slow walk, it's obviously better than nothing, but it's better to go for a brisk walk and increase your heart rate. And also around exercise, it's really important to stretch and make sure that we recover from that exercise. And I have the saying, if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. And as you age, we do become much stiffer and less mobile. So keeping that exercise as you age is really, really important. The World Health Organization says that 84% of adolescent girls do not meet the right level of exercise, which is a really terrible statistic. And globally, women do less exercise than men. And it's not just about losing weight. It's not really about losing weight at all. And I really hope everyone totally dissociates those. Exercise is for our mental and physical health. The World Health Organization has shown that about 20 to 30, there's a 20 to 30% increase in death and the chance of death in people that don't exercise. So lack of exercise is one of the leading risk factors of death globally. Now, in the UK, we have a campaign to improve women's view about exercising and increase their activity. And it's called This Girl Can. And I'm a representative for This Girl Can, and I'm an Essex ambassador. And I've organized many events over the time to try and encourage women and girls to exercise. I also am a trained aerobics teacher. I don't teach anymore, but it's something that's always been really passionate to me. Sleep. Another question for you. Are you getting enough sleep? Now, in the UK, we have 40% of people who have less than 6 hours sleep. That is really not enough. It leads to so many health problems. It costs millions in lost revenue. And 1 in 3 people in the UK have fallen asleep at the wheel when they've been driving, which accounts for 25% of accidents on major roads. We really need 7 to 8 hours of really good deep sleep. This is the time where our body resets and repairs, both physically and mentally. So it's really important to try and make sure that you get sleep. If you don't have enough sleep, you'll be irritable, you'll be angry. It can really affect your menstrual cycle, your fertility, your menopausal symptoms. So it's really important to get that sleep. And having alcohol and having caffeine late at night is really not going to help. So all of these things are so interlaced. It's really important to think about all of them and think about the bigger picture. And lastly, our mental health. So we all experience these things at different times in our life. And the main 4 mental health I'll talk about now is stress, anxiety, anger, and depression. And stress is different to anxiety. Stress results from an adverse or demanding, an adverse event or a demanding circumstance that's causing us to be stressed about something specific. We know what's causing us the stress, and hopefully we can solve that problem and reduce the chance of getting stress from that. Anxiety comes from a place of fear, nervousness, and worry. It's not about a specific thing. It's just something that we're anxious about. So anger, also, we know anger is just the tip of the iceberg. We could be lonely, scared, exhausted, embarrassed, stressed, hurt, etc. But anger can become aggressive. It's just not good for our mental health to lose our temper and to be angry. And then we also have depression. There's many different types of depression. We can get depressed around our certain stages of our menstrual cycle. We can certainly get depressed during the menopause, and we can get postnatal depression. So there's many different types of depression. Now, our hormones do have a major part to play, and at different times of our fertile years, these hormones are cycling, and they can lead to an increase in all of these. So what can we do about it? Well, I think it's really important to relax, try and stay calm, try and not fill our life with too many tasks that could stress us or give us anxiety. And I am very much a fan of mindfulness. During COVID, I'm just taking one day at a time, thinking day by day, not thinking too far ahead. And it's also important with mindfulness not to dwell about the past. Don't think too much about what has happened in the past. Live for the here and now. You might want to do relaxation. You might want to think about your happy place and try and go there mentally if you can't go there physically when you're feeling any mental health issues. And I start the day trying to be really positive. I do a 10-minute meditation, and before I get out of bed, I think every day, what's going to make me happy today? Am I going to do something that is going to bring a smile onto my face? And some days I realize that I haven't planned anything subconsciously that's going to make me happy, and I make sure I do. Even if it's just a long, relaxing bath or some candles, or having a dance around the lounge or the kitchen to some music, or even just taking 10 minutes to sit and read your book. It doesn't have to be complicated, but I think more than ever at the moment, we need to be living in the here and now and not think too far into the future. So that really was a whistle-stop tour of chapter 3 of my book. I go into a lot more detail in the actual chapter. I've also written a little bit more about these topics in my blog, which is on globalwomenconnected.com, and you can find some blogs about all of the chapters and many of the topics that I've talked about in this video on Global Women. So I hope you found that useful. Please remember that our health is so important. Our well-being is so important. Remember on the aeroplane, when they do the safety announcement, they say, put your own oxygen mask on before you put it on your children. Our well-being will have a positive influence on all those people around us. It will help us in our career. It will help us with our friends and family and our own well-being. So when I hear women say, I haven't got the time, you have got the time, and looking after your 4 pillars of well-being will mean that your fertile years will hopefully be easier to cope with and beyond. They should really set you up for having the optimum well-being that you can, and it will be of benefit to everybody. So I hope you found that interesting. Thank you very much for listening.